Okay, let's take a look at some Trojan tools. And there are loads of them. So how do we infect a system using a Trojan? It's all about taking what we call a wrapper or a construction kit. And it will take a normal application or a document or a file of some kind, and it will combine your malicious stuff with the normal thing all in one package. And then you can change the icon, you can change the name, you can do whatever. The tricky part is, because the Trojan is an executable, if you hide it inside of, say, a video or a PDF, which you certainly can do, the thing is that the resulting Trojan, the resulting file, is an executable. And there have been famous examples of like a Trojan going around called cat's exe. But Windows hides file extensions for well-known file types. So people would just see cats and they'd double click it and they'd watch videos of like America's Funniest Cats, not realizing it was actually an executable that was showing you the video using media player or whatever, but also doing something malicious in the background. So when you build your own Trojans, you need a construction kit or a wrapper, whatever you want to call it, that will package this all up for you. So we create a new Trojan packet using a Trojan horse construction kit, also known as a wrapper. So you can install malicious code using the dropper, and different tools have different terminology. Or you use the wrapper, might call itself a wrapper as opposed to a construction kit. You wrap the Trojan and the legitimate application or file into a larger thing. You propagate the Trojan. So this dropper idea here, this is part of the Trojanized packet that installs the malicious code on the target computer. So you need to send this Trojan around by chain emails or whatever. You then execute the dropper, which is going to install basically a little tiny server that you make a connection to. And it executes whatever its program is. The most common ways that we will attack with using Trojans is people either open a malicious email attachment or they click on a malicious link. So wrapper or construction kit, this binds an executable to something else, and whatever that something is. So somebody could think they're opening a game or Microsoft Office, and the two are now one single file. So when they open up this whatever it is, yes, it installs Office, or yes, it plays a game, but it also installs the Trojan in the background. Here's just one example, Dark Horse of Trojan Virus Maker. And you can see that we can do it for different mechanisms here. Then what we do is we say also what the Trojan is going to do. And you just package the whole thing up. Now, a cryptor is a type of Trojan builder, but it is used to hide the viruses or the keyloggers or tools by obfuscating and encrypting and manipulating the malware so it doesn't match any kind of antivirus signature. It makes it harder for security programs to detect the malware. So we use it to create the malware to hopefully bypass any malware detectors. And then the thing looks harmless because it doesn't match any signatures. And then it gets installed. Now, there are different types of cryptors. Some are what we call static or statistical. They start with sort of a base software called a stub, and then each encrypted file is different. So it's really kind of hard to follow any sort of trend or look for a common signature. You can clean out that base stub, and this way your malicious software looks different every single time, but you always start from sort of a base. You have polymorphic cryptors. They're a little bit more advanced, and they will use algorithms, advanced algorithms, to introduce random data, random keys, random variables, random decoders. And so one input source file is never going to produce the same output file that will be identical. Every version will be different. And by the way, if you don't want to do it, there are online services that are happy to do this for you for anywhere from 10 to 100 bucks. So you can get malware as a service. Here's just one example of a cryptor. I mean, there's a ton of different cryptors. One that I like to use all the time is MSF Venom. It's an affiliate program that goes with Metasploit, but there are loads of others. Here's Aegis Cryptor, and you can see if we zoom in, just take a look here. You can see the file path to the thing that you need to put in, the base software, the stub, the icon you want to throw on top of this key. Do you want to set any, or on top of this application, do you want to set any kind of key? And what's the result? And then what features would you like? Do you want to bypass user account control, which is basically a local privilege escalation? Do you want to incorporate things that are anti-sandbox and anti-virtual machine? Do you want to hide directories, hide files? Do you want to have it start up when the machine starts up? Do you want to inject a default browser? Do you want to add some junk? So there's all sorts of things we can do. We can encrypt, we can log in, we can spoof, we can create it and bind it. So different options. Here is using MSF Venom, where we basically say we're going to create a payload. It's a Windows payload for 64-bit. The payload type is Meterpreter, which is a really powerful menu-based interactive prompt. Reverse TCP style, so that the victim comes back to us past their firewall. They will come to us, and here's what we're listening on, and we're listening on this port. The file type is an executable, and the output is something called awesome-game.exe. And then it creates it, and it's not very big. So it's like 7 to 10 kilobytes with a very tiny payload. Usually these things, what it is the payload is just a stub to come out and connect to us and download the whole rest of it. And now I need to make sure that I pass around awesome-game.exe either with malicious links, with social engineering, with email attachments, with Facebook Messenger or something where people click a link and go and get it. Or I'll bait USB sticks and scatter the sticks around the parking lot and hope that someone picks it up and plugs it in. So an exploit kit is a toolkit that we can use to create exploits and payloads, including Trojans, spyware, backdoors, bots, buffer overflows, etc., on a target. Metasploit is the classic example of an exploit kit. So here's an example of creating a malicious payload using Metasploit Pro, which is the paid professional version of Metasploit. So instead of doing the command line version here with MSF Venom, we are using the nice GUI version. Pick the architecture. This dynamic payload means that it is doing the crypting so that we're trying to do antivirus evasion. Then how do we want them to connect to us? Well, in this case, I want the victim to connect back to me, reverse TCP. What is the payload? Well, it's going to be a Meterpreter for Windows 64-bit. Here I am listening, waiting with open arms for that victim to come to me, and this is the port I'm waiting for them to come on. And then, of course, I would have to have something waiting for them to come to, so this is just one example. In Meterpreter, what we do is we just turn on what we call a handler. So these are command prompt commands, but they're quite easy to get used to. We say use and then exploit multi-handler, which means I'm going to be waiting for incoming victims. The payload, when they come, is going to be a reverse TCP Meterpreter, which is what I set up over here, because they have to agree. And then I have to put in my IP address, the attacker, and the port I'm listening on, and then I execute. And now I am waiting for them to connect. There are other toolkits. Here's Infinity Exploit Kit, uses vulnerabilities in Firefox and Internet Explorer and Opera to install threats on targets. And so we can do these using exploiting browser add-ons or Flash Player or Java. And so this is just one of the other types of kits that we can have. There's the Phoenix Exploit Kit, the Black Hole Exploit Kit. They all basically do the same kind of thing. Wow, for a base price of $2,200, you can get free ones. Forget paying money. So you can also have crimeware as a service online. So if you want to do that, here's another one, Bleeding Life. It exploits, it creates exploit on Java Juice. So it abuses a built-in Java functionality. It's for social engineering. There's Crime Pack, which is a prepackaged bundle of commercial crimeware that we can use to booby-trap hacked websites. And what else do we have? Oh, so there are tons. That was just a few. To evade antivirus techniques, most of these Trojan builders have some way of either breaking the Trojan up into multiple pieces, or changing, scrambling around the code, changing an executable to maybe a VB script, or changing the extension to something else, to hide the file extensions, to change the content with like a hex editor. So there are loads of ways of trying to evade antivirus. And they say, never use Trojans downloaded from the web, as antiviruses can detect these with no trouble. So in other words, you should be modifying your own. So that is a look at Trojan tools.